Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Building Advanced Analytics Applications with App Builder. My name is Jason Barris. I'm a Senior VP here at Infragistics. And of course, online today we have the usual A-team, Zdravko, Pablo, Brian, George, and everyone else involved with App Builder, along with Jesse and JJ, who set everything up for us today. Today's a kind of a cool webinar. It's a crossover webinar. We're going to talk about analytics with Reveal, low code with App Builder, and how you can bring everything together. If you're not blown away by the end of this webinar, then we got to have your pulse checked because it is so cool what I'm going to show you today. We're going to do some code. Of course, I've created code snippets, so you're not going to watch me type and mess up. It's going to be pretty quick. But for the amount of code that we write, which is going to be very little, the outcome is huge when you start combining these capabilities and technologies. But before we start, I want to talk about the App Builder Design Contest. Yes, build, create, and win big. We started this last year. We had some pretty good success, and so this year we're upping the ante with prizes and kind of other stuff that's pretty slick. So the idea is we want you to build applications, enter into this contest, and then try to win some money. Now, when I say applications, there's some criteria, like a few pages in an app builder screen, some data and whatnot. We're not talking about an end-to-end build app. We just want you to explore and use App Builder and see what you can come up with. And don't be shy because you might not be a designer. App Builder does so much work for you. Come up with something creative. Start with one of the templates and see where it goes. So the first prize is $2,000 US value. Not a cash gift, but it'll be in the form of cash, it says. Prizes may be awarded to eligible winners, are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other prize. That's the fine print. Essentially, there'll be a cash value prize, like a gift card or something like that. And of course, the reason is this is global. You could be over in Europe, South America, Africa, Asia. It doesn't matter. We want you to enter into the App Builder Design Contest and win some money. Registration opened on September 29th, so we're in full swing here. All of the entries are due before November 17th, and we're going to do a webinar on December 7th, just like we did last year, to announce the winners. Go to appbuilder-contest at infragistics.com to learn more. There's a video on this page along with all the requirements, and you can see all this other good stuff here that you do need to know in order to participate in this. So please go ahead and enter. So what are we going to do today? Quick overview of App Builder and Reveal. You probably know about these products, but if you don't, you will. Definitely, I have one slide on each of them, but the demo does really speak 1,000 words here. And then we'll do a wrap-up, housekeeping, ask questions in the Q&A or chat. We will answer them throughout the webinar, and we'll stay on after and make sure we answer all the questions. Recording will be sent tomorrow. Also, we have a poll. So after my demo, there's another poll that pops up. And please answer the poll when we get to it. So let's go ahead and get started. I look at App Builder and Reveal as a marriage made in heaven, primarily because the App Builder team enabled a Reveal component inside of App Builder so we can at least start with a WYSIWYG drag and drop in the application. Now, these are two different products. They're licensed completely different. No, you do not get App Builder if you buy Reveal, and you don't get Reveal if you buy App Builder. You have to contact sales and go through that whole thing. Reveal is a self-service BI tool. App Builder is a low-code tool. But when you think about how your job is to accelerate application delivery, Infragistics is a provider of tools for developers. And this is a developer-focused sort of thing where you've got a low-code tool, you want to add some stuff, generate code, and then do something afterwards. Well, that's what we're going to do today in order to show how all of this works together. So Reveal, if you're not familiar with it, it enables you to accelerate insights with self-service embedded analytics. It's an SDK. So my server today for Reveal is a .NET Core server. So I added a NuGet package. That NuGet package lights up the Reveal server. And then I write code to connect to my data sources, do queries and whatnot. And then on the client, there's a JavaScript library. And that's what I'm using to do self-service BI, create dashboards, edit dashboards, all this stuff. You're going to see this whole round robin experience today. But the great thing about Reveal is that if you're doing any type of analytics, dashboards, charting, you don't have to write any code for this. I mean, it's all built in. It is a true self-service experience. We have a client API, a server API. So even though everything's sort of there for you, you can set properties, respond to events, etc. with the Reveal libraries to customize the experience even further because, of course, it is an SDK. We have servers for Node, .NET Core, and Java on the back end. And then on the client, we are simply a JavaScript library. So we will work with any client framework. Is it Vue, any of the JSPs, Angular, React, Web Components, Blazor. Up on our Reveal BI YouTube channel, we have tons of videos. I've done so many webinars on building an Angular app, building a Blazor app, etc., building a React app with Reveal. So if you're interested in Reveal, take a look at some of those videos online. And then, of course, App Builder is our design and build of real apps blazing fast with low-code story. We have an amazing WYSIWYG tool that allows you to drag and drop your way to beautiful experiences, and you don't write any code. Now, we are not a no-code tool. You still have to generate code and then take it for that last mile or however many miles left on your customization in the code. But the idea is we want to remove all of the boring, mundane, error-prone coding like layout, like trying to design screens, trying to apply theming, all that stuff you're going to see today is just clicks of a button. The primary use of Reveal is our secure cloud, which is a SaaS app, but we also have an on-prem container that you deploy to your own servers, which gives you complete security because it's in your own infrastructure. It's not up in the cloud. Fast forward, maybe 6 months from now, maybe 8 months, we're going to have an SDK experience where you can embed this inside of your app to deliver low code to your customers. So think about how cool that might be as well. So with that, let's get into a demo and see how all of this ties together. In App Builder, I created a workspace called AB Reveal Analytics. This is just to highlight the entry point into App Builder if you've never used App Builder before. It's workspace based, so you create workspaces, you can invite members to workspaces, and that kind of gives you a security context and other things like data sources, assets are shared within a workspace. From the launchpad here in the workspace, you can do a new application or you can import designs. On the new application dialog, you are given options for all of the templates, the built-in templates that we have. We're not going to use any of these today. We're actually going to start with the sample app. And usually, at least in the last maybe handful of webinars, I've started with the learning portal, the CRM app. I always like the team collaboration app. The HR portal is neglected. So we are going to use the HR portal today. And there's a reason I also want to use the HR portal because it's one of those websites that is centered on the screen. So a lot of websites today go the 100% width of the screen and all the content just kind of flows out. This one's a little bit different where it's sort of just in the middle. So if I bring up this particular screen and I run it and I'll hide my code view, you know, everything's going to kind of live in the middle here. So I've got the home screen, I've got the My Info screen, and there's just, you know, some nice things here. What I want to do now is copy this screen, and we are going to customize it and add Reveal to it. So I'm going to go back to edit mode, and I want to add a new screen here, and I'm going to duplicate the My Info screen, and I'm just going to call this guy Reports. So we're going to modify this and add the Reveal stuff to it. And this is kind of how you would do it as well. Like you could start with a template and then just start modifying. What I'm going to do to make this a little bit expedited is show a few tips and tricks. Because what I want to do is delete all this stuff I'm going to delete this stuff, delete this stuff, delete this. I'm just going to kind of muck around. But you can see what I'm going to do is use the object outline here to select multiple items and do things like right click and delete. So now I just have my column layout here, which is all that I want. Now in this case, I won't use my outline on the left. I'm just going to select these guys here. I can right click and I'm going to delete this guy. And in fact, let's delete this guy too. Now I just have a column layout. And what I want to do in this particular section, I'm going to do a Control E to bring up my quick search here. I want to add a list control. So I'm going to add a list control here, and we're just going to let that sit there for a second. And in this little box here, I'm going to delete this, and here I want to add a button. So let's do a Control E, and I'm going to add a floating action button, which happens to be right there. And that floating action button is going to serve a purpose. It's going to be something where I click it and it's going to add a new dashboard. And in this list, these are going to be my existing dashboards where I click it and I want my dashboard, my reveal dashboard to show up here. So what I'm going to put here is, you guessed it, I'm going to do a Control E. Let's search for reveal. And there's my reveal dashboard. And there is our default sort of dashboard. You can see here we've got some properties, the base URL, and the dashboard that we want to view. I am actually running a local server right now at localhost 5111. And I want to use not sales, but I think I might have crypto. Let's see. Yep, I do have crypto. So that's cool. So there's my crypto dashboard. I've got a few things here, a few charts. It all looks good. Now across the top, I don't need these guys here. So let me select all of them and I'm going to hit the delete key. I'm just going to change this to reports like so. We're kind of just creating our screen here. Everything's kind of looking good. One of the things I want to do is I want to change my branding. So I'm going to go over to my theme here. And this is using a Titanium Web Material Light theme. If I go to Fluent Light, I kind of like this better, but I want to duplicate this and I want to customize it. So I'm going to call this Reveal Demo Theme, and we will use Fluent as the base. And for these colors, I want them to be just a little bit different. Like I like the blue, but I'm just going to change them ever so slightly, kind of like that. And we'll see how that looks. And I want to change my typography from Open Sans. I want to use Roboto. That's a nice web-safe font. I'm going to leave my roundness and my elevation all the same. Let's save this guy. And now this gets updated. This gets updated. You can see like my colors look a little bit different. My button looks a little bit different. You know, things just look nice. So if I run this, this is what my application looks like now. It's got the Roboto font. I got my info. I want to change this particular people link to not say people. So let's go back to my master view and I want it to say reports. I want it to be default, not disabled. And I want it to navigate to the reports screen that I added. So I'm using this navigation and routing. So now when I run this and I click reports, I end up on this screen here and there's my dashboard and there's kind of like a little header here that says reports. Now let's go to edit mode again. And what we want to do here is I want to load this up with the dashboards that are in my server. So you understand where this is all coming from. This is my Swagger, which is my reveal server running. You can see here it's at localhost 5111. I'm going to copy this, Control C. But I also am going to show you what I'm going to use in my app. I'm going to use this dashboards endpoint. So let me click try it out. And I'll click name only equals true, execute. And you can see here I've got the dashboards that I want to display in my application. So this is what's on my server. How do we know this? Well, if we jump over here to Visual Studio, this is my reveal server running. If I go to my dashboards folder, there are all the dashboards that are in my server. So I'm just basically serving up these through HTTP request. The Reveal server has all kinds of features and functionality. We're not going to go into the Reveal server today. We're going to stick with the client. So let's go to our data sources. I'm going to hit the plus sign here. Let's click REST API. Let's call this Reveal Data. I'm going to add an open API endpoint. Let's paste this guy in. And I'm going to hit save and configure endpoints. And this gives me the endpoints that have a corresponding schema. There's a lot of posts, some gets. All I care about is this particular one here. You can see something went wrong because it wants that parameter. I'm going to say true. And I'm going to hit send. And I'm going to say view details. And then you can see it's giving me all of the data coming back from my database. And I have all this kind of like happening in code here. I'm passing some fake information back just to populate things and make it look cool. So that's all I need here is my dashboards. I'm going to say select data and done, and we're done. So now let's go to our list. And I'm going to say that this is bound to data. Let's go to our reveal data, select our dashboards endpoint like we had earlier. And now we want to bind some of these guys here. So let's do the title to name. Subtitle we'll get rid of. Actions we'll get rid of. And the image or the icon we're going to change to an image type. And let's change that to the fake dashboard image URL, which I have coming across from my server. I'm kind of dynamically creating that. So now if I view this, you can see I have all of my dashboards that are from the server. So the next thing I want to do is I want to generate this code, and I want to, when I click on this guy, I want this dashboard to change to the right dashboard. We're going to make one more change here on this particular column layout. I want the height to be, let's say, 400 pixels, like so. And then I want the overflow to be auto. And that way I'm going to get a scroll bar. So here I can still see my manager, but I have a scroll bar for this guy here. And also you'll notice Reveal has this nice sort of rounded, stylish WebKit scroll bar. This by default is kind of a standard browser scroll bar. We're going to customize that in code. But anyway, this is looking pretty slick. I like where things are going, and I've embedded Reveal. It's not doing much yet because I really want to load up dashboards and I want to be able to add new dashboards. We're going to add all that in code. So here, if I go to edit and I'm going to change this to Angular, let's go ahead and publish this to the server. So I'm going to call this Reveal AB Demo, and I'm going to make it private for now. Let's create this repository. And we've published. Let's go and grab our initial version. And what I want here is to grab the Git link, and we're going to open this up in VS Code. So let's now go over to Visual Studio Code. We'll do a Control-Shift-P. I want to do a clone, Git clone. Let's paste this guy in. We'll hit enter. We'll put this in our source folder. Select that repository and let this load. We'll open this up in a new window. Good. We are good to go. Let's close that little error out. So let's go to terminal. We'll do new terminal. I'll do an npm install and an npm start, and that'll take a second. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and modify some of the things that we need to address in the code. So since we're using Reveal as an SDK, that's a whole separate product team. And you know how it is at your companies when you have to sync what different product teams are doing. So the Reveal SDK in App Builder, what we're doing from a versioning perspective is a little bit older than what we release from the Reveal team. So I'm going to start changing a couple things here. And these are things that you would go through as well if you're doing the same thing. So you can see that we're using the global CDN for Reveal here. This was 1.3.1. Well, currently we're on 1.6.0. The other thing is we've removed a couple dependencies here, so we do not need the Quill.js dependency, but we have all the other stuff that we need like fonts, etc. Now, if I go into the app, you can see that there's my report screen. Here's my reports.html. So this is everything that you would have expected to happen in code generation. It's just pretty clean. No secret stuff here. It's very production ready, clean code that we generate. Let me go ahead and give this a no and let that go. And then in my TypeScript, what we'll look at here is exactly what code reveal generated. So you can see here that we've got an ng after view init. There's some code that we did here. This was the base URL settings to 5111. And then you can see here, this is the custom theme that's getting built. So the only code that was necessary to add was this here. And then, of course, the service call to pull in the data. So let's go and modify some of this. As I mentioned, we always make improvements to reveal. So some of this stuff we don't need. So for example, prior to version 1.4, we had this thing about loading fonts, and you really don't need to worry about that anymore. So I'm going to delete those lines, unnecessary here, and everything else should basically stay the same. Make this look a little cleaner. So we're pointing to localhost 5111, and then we've got this here. This is going to change as well, but we'll get to that in a second. And let's see, this is still generating our bundle. So let's give this one more second just so we can see what this looks like when it's running on localhost 4200. All right, so here's my application. Here's my info screen. Looks good, just like we had, in App Builder. And here's my report screen. So I have my data loading dynamically from the server. I have my dashboard right here. Of course, this is a full self-service dashboarding experience, so there's all kinds of neat capabilities that you have. Here I can swap out what this chart might look like. If I want to go into edit mode, now I'm inside the WYSIWYG editor. Maybe I don't want to look at that, and I just want to look at the balance of my portfolios. And I can click this checkbox and minimize this, and now I've just updated this chart. I'm not going to save this right now, but essentially this is all that you would need to just build out a full self-service BI with some advanced analytics. So let's go ahead and continue to customize this screen. I'm going to just leave this running, and we're just going to kind of go back and forth between the code in here. So in the HTML, what I want to do first is set up the list item click event here. So when you select a list item, we want to load the proper dashboard. So let's make some room here. And in my code snippets, which I'm going to make available up on GitHub, you can see that I've got all of these prefixed with HR. These are essentially the ones that we're going to use. So let's take the list item click for HTML, and we're going to get rid of this stuff here since it's part of my code snippet. So essentially what you can see here is we've got a click event. So we've got on item clicked, and we're passing in the item that's being bound here. So the item is what's going to actually be displayed in the list. And we have some code here to change the CSS essentially of what the selected item looks like. So it's obvious that an item was selected. Now you'll see there's some errors here. I'm just going to kind of slide this down a little bit because we will run into errors because we're continuing to modify this code as we build it. But data source file data is not what we are using here. So this is the code which is calling the service, and it's called reveal file data. And in this case, what I want to do is modify this as well. And I'm going to say this equals any, and we'll default it to null. And I'm going to copy reveal file data here, go back, and I'm going to change this because this is what we're iterating through to actually get those items. Now, the other thing is we just added this on item clicked event. So here, if I go to definition, there is no on item clicked event that we created yet. So we need to add that. So if we go back to our TypeScript, let's make some room right here. Let's grab one of our snippets and we'll add the on item clicked event here. So we'll add this guy in here. And this is not really doing this. All of this code here is basically determining what was selected. And then based on what was selected, we're unselecting the other item. All this is for is purely display in terms of the items that are in the list. And we're going to add that CSS in a second. but this code here is the same as this code here. So we don't really want to have this in two places, because this will show up, this will show the crypto dashboard as soon as we load the screen. I'm going to hit delete on that because I don't want it to do that. So let's go ahead and just in our ng after view init, I want to set the theme and I want to set the base URL to my server. And that's all I want to do, because everything else is going to be handled through this click event. You also notice we're using change detection here, so we have to add that. So if we go back up to our constructor, we can say private CDR, and we will say change detector ref, like so. And what that did was add change detector ref in our imports, and we're good there. So what's going to happen now is when I select an item from that list, it's going to load the selected item name, because remember, we have item being passed into this method call, and I'm passing the item from here. So it's going to get all of the properties with that item. So whenever you click on something, it's actually going to load it. So let's go back to here and let's do a refresh. I'm going to select banking, and now my banking dashboard loaded. If I select analysis, my analysis dashboard loaded. CRM. So there you go. So 10 lines of code, maybe less, and I have at least my dashboards viewing based on what's selected. So let's go ahead and change the CSS, not only for my selected item, but for my scroll bar as well. So let's go back here and let's go to the CSS for here. We'll go all the way to the bottom. And what I want to do is on this last line, we'll do HR, and this will be the CSS for the selected item. So I'm going to change the background color to like a shade of blue, the fore color to be white smoke. And then this guy here, we're going to add custom scroll bars. And this, all I did was Google. I did a Google search for how do you make scroll bars look nice? And it gave me this, and I pasted it in, and it worked great. So I'm not an expert at this stuff, but I think that looks pretty cool. And now you can see when I select this item here, it is handling that click event. So basically we're, 90% done with our application. That's how easy it is to get this stuff going with App Builder and Reveal. And again, if I go back down to, let's say, like the logistics dashboard, there's all kinds of features here. So, as I hover over items, I have drill downs and I have drill ups. All of this stuff is interactive, and there's a few other features that we can enable as well. But all of this looks great. If I want to edit this guy again, you'll remember I had the edit option. Maybe I want to export this image. I can bring up the image exporter here, and maybe I want to highlight something here, like why is this high? I can add some text, like this. Why is this high? And whoops. And I can check this box, and I can export this image or copy to the clipboard, paste it into an email, kind of do whatever the heck I want. I can also do things like export to Excel, but let's take a look at that from a whole dashboard perspective. So here, if I say export and I want to export this to Excel, I get a nice dialog. It says you want to include visualizations. Do you want to select or deselect individual items, maybe rename items if you want. Let's get rid of this guy just for the heck of it. I'll say export to Excel. And here is my Excel file. You can see there's my data for that one. And what we try to do here is, if we can, we add a native chart to the exported option. So you can see here, this is actually a native Excel chart. So where we can, we are going to add to the export the data along with the chart, which is actually pretty darn slick. Now PDF is a little bit different. So if I select the overflow, go to export and select PDF, this brings up a dialog with screenshots, essentially images of each individual item that you're trying to export. And I could do the same thing. I can do a markup on this. I could change some of the branding, kind of do whatever I want. But here, if I just select export PDF, and I'll open this guy up, and you can see that there is the PDF with all of the dashboard information that I had. So it's really slick. And you can do the same thing with PowerPoint. So I could get the same thing into a PowerPoint deck and then use that for a meeting or whatever. But this is the idea. I mean, there's no lines of code to make any of this happen. It's all built into the SDK. So here, if I check out the manufacturing dashboard, this has some other kind of neat visualizations. I can drill down to this tree view, continue to drill down, drill back up. I get all kinds of analytics capabilities, time series data, comparative data, multi-series data. All this is pretty slick. And this will work for any screen size. So you can see here that I kind of have this unique sort of in the middle type website. But if you wanted something that was mobile, we would resize to mobile, and we could also stretch from end to end. I'm just doing this for this particular application, and it all looks just amazing. So let's go back to our application here. And what I want to do now is be able to add a new dashboard, right? So in my server, it's wired up to enable SQL Server access. I have a SQL Server in the cloud, and I want users to be able to create new dashboards with that SQL Server. What you can see here is where we are loading the dashboard in. So what happens here is you'll see that this is a div. The div has an ID of reveal dashboard. If I go back to my TypeScript and we go back up here, you can see that we are creating a reference to a native element called reveal dashboard. And then that element ref is what we're using to load the dashboard into. So we're going to get a reference to the reveal dashboard div, and then we are going to load that into something called the reveal view, which then loads. Basically, it's telling the dashboard to load inside that div is basically what it's doing in the simplest terms. But I want to customize this a little bit. So I'm actually going to delete this, and I'm going to go back to my code snippets here, and let's grab my new div. So I'm still, and actually let's double check that that was group 9. Let me do a Control Z. That was group 11. So when I generated when I created my snippets, my app was a little bit different. So this is column group 11. So I need to make sure I change that, or else we will run into problems. So let's go back to HR, and we will add our reveal view div, and we'll change this to group 11 like so. Why is that important? Because if I look at group 11, which is a class for this div, and I go to the CSS and I scroll up, group 11 has some very specific properties that I need to apply to this div. So everything kind of ties together here. All of this is generated. Now what I'm doing here is when you load the screen, if you recall, it was an empty screen, and I got rid of the initial load of the dashboard. I want to make this look a little nicer. So I created a image, and in fact, this image I created with AI. I used the Windows Copilot to actually generate this image. So now when the application loads, it's going to load this nice placeholder. What's going to happen is if I scroll up on this button that I added, let's find our button here. I actually want to do an on-click event here. So in this case, I've got my on button click event. So the IGX button has a button click event, and I want to implement or call on add dashboard when this button is clicked. So let's go back to our TypeScript, and let's go ahead and add the on add dashboard code, which is here. And what is this on add dashboard using? It's pretty straightforward. When you want to add a new dashboard in Reveal, the key thing here is this property called start in edit mode. So start in edit mode means that you get the edit entry point for a Reveal dashboard. And then what you're doing is you have an on data source requested event, which you're passing in basically some information that the server uses in order to populate the dialog of the data source that you're allowed to create dashboards with. So the client and the server are sort of tied together, and this is all you need to do. This is the only code you need to make this happen. It's super, super simple. This is going to call on add dashboard. My click event's in there. I think that's all I need to do. So let's go back to our application. You can see it refreshed. This is the image that Bing created. And believe it or not, I said, can you please create me a modern image that represents adding a dashboard or something like that? And this is what it created. So when I open my app, I'm going to be at home. I got my info. I got reports. It's like, oh, this is cool. I mean, I probably could have added some text that said either select a dashboard or add a new dashboard. But let's go ahead and hit the plus sign. Now I'm in the new dashboard screen. So let's create a new dashboard. I'm connecting into SQL Server. So let's go ahead and open up SQL Server. So you can see here, I've got all of the tables in my SQL Server, all of the views in my SQL Server, all the stored procedures in my SQL Server. So a few lines of code and I'm in business. So let's go ahead and just create a quick dashboard. So I'm going to use this autos table. I could preview it and I could see what fields are available. You can see here, there's a lot of fields available, a lot of neat stuff. So let's go ahead and use that. I'm going to click select data. Now I'm in the same dashboard editor that I was in before. So what I want to do is I did notice there were some titles here. So gender is a good one. Let's grab gender. And I believe there was something called salary. Yep. So let's grab salary by gender. And boom, I have a chart. I didn't write a single line of code to make this happen. This is what's amazing. Now this chart is okay. I want to make some changes to it. I want to change the title to it to be called salary by gender. Like so. I want to change the aggregation from sum to average. So I want the average salary. And I also want to use something called large number formatting, which will make the y-axis labels look a little bit nicer. And you'll see here the salary is in the legend. I don't need that because it's in the title. I'm going to uncheck it. And maybe we'll change the color to like this color. Just make it look nice like so. And I'll check the box and boom, I have a beautiful example here of a chart, which is salary by gender. Now I want to do, I think there's salary, I can do title as well. So let me duplicate this visualization and I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to get rid of gender. And I think there is a title in here. There's title and job title. Let's grab title or job title. And that's kind of neat. What did title have? Yeah, title is more what I wanted to do. That's average. And we'll do salary by title. And I'll check the box. And there we go. Now this guy here, maybe I want it to be like this. And let's make this like that size. And I can do the same thing here. I'll make it a little bit wider. And I want this just to be all on one screen like so. And I can call this dashboard my salary analysis like so. And I will check this box, which will then save the dashboard. So what just happened? So I created a dashboard here. I have the information from the database. This is coming from SQL Server. On the server side, if I jump over to here, there is a default folder called dashboards. We will always load and save from this folder, but you can control this because remember, this is an SDK. So there is the salary analysis R- file, and now it's on the server. It's there. And this R- file is essentially the JSON representation of all the things that are needed to make up that dashboard. Now, if I delete this, then it's just gone forever. But that's how this works. This could also be stored in a database table. It doesn't really matter. There's all kinds of options for how this works. Now, in my code, if I scroll down, there's my salaries. So is this what I did? No, that was a different one. Let's do a refresh on this. Wonder why that didn't reload. I had some code in there to reload. There's my salary analysis. Let's go ahead and look at this again. And I've got my on item clicked. Where is my on add dashboard? So what I want to do now is on the on add dashboard, I also want to add the on save event. So if I go here and we grab the on save dashboard code, What this is doing is it's just a few lines of code. Like there's a save and a save as. So on the save as, I mean, I'm not going to do a save as because what you can do with the save as is once someone checks that box, you can force them to add a new name for that particular dashboard. So maybe you want to deliver a bunch of default templates and no one can overwrite those defaults. But all I want to do is just call save and then I want to reload the actual list. So let's go back to this guy and I'm back to here. Let's click add. I want to do a new visualization. I'm going to use SQL Server. Let's scroll down. Actually, let's go to views and I want to use my orders. So LMNO, so orders query is always a good one. It's got some good data. I'm going to select this and I'm going to do country. And ooh, you know what? We'll do a cool visualization here. Let's do a map. So I can do, scroll down here. I'm going a little crazy with my mouse. I'm going to do a choropleth map. And I'm going to do a map. I think Europe works well for this one. So I've got country as the location. And let's do something like freight. So there, I've done this guy here. And again, the sum of freight really isn't that important. What I want to know is the average freight by country. That's really what's important to me. And in this case, I don't need all these labels. So I'm going to go to my settings. And I'm going to say labels none, because I mean, I know what all these countries are, and we get a tooltip anyway. So let's do freight, average freight by country, like so, and we can check this box, and there I have a map. And I'm going to do the same thing. Let's do a duplicate on this because most dashboards are using the same data, right? Let's go ahead and change this to maybe a column chart. And we can do customers. Let's do average freight by customer. But I don't want every customer because this is sort of like one of those analysis dashboards. I'm going to do a data filter here. I want to do the top 10. So let's do the top items. And I'm going to say, give me the top 10. And we'll do the top 10 average freight. Top 10 average freight by customer, I guess. That's pretty cool. And we'll check the box. So now I've got that. And I'll change the name here to freight analysis. And we'll do one more. I'll do plus visualization. And I'm going to use a different table now. I want to use views. And let's go down to, there's a couple good ones in here that are very basic. Products by category, maybe sales by category. So this is giving me the category and the sales. So I like that one. Let's go ahead and select that data. So let's do the category name and let's do the product sales. And this one, I do want the summary. Now we have a category option here as well. I could actually do product here. And then for the category, just select the category. So now I've got this type of chart. And again, this might look a little messy, but that's okay. We'll check the box and let's make this guy bigger because it's got some very long names in there. And in fact, a lot of times when there's something like this, what I like to do is do a column or a bar chart instead of a column chart, but we'll leave this one just how it is. We'll call this freight analysis. That's fine. And I'm going to check the box. And there I have a brand new dashboard with a bunch of great stuff. But the other cool thing is if I scroll down, it automatically added it to my list. So if I go to healthcare, and then I go back to freight analysis, I have all of that in very nicely. So not only can I view dashboards, I can add new dashboards, and I did all of that with this code. And that's pretty much all. So I added maybe 25 lines of code, and we have a full Reveal embedded dashboard experience. Now, setting up the server would probably take around the same amount of time. It's so easy to set up the server. We have videos on YouTube on how to do it, but it is so straightforward. It is so easy to do. You can't really do anything like that with code in any near the amount of time. It would take you months and months to enable all of this stuff. And in fact, we just did a webinar which talks about all of the client-side API that you get with Reveal for all of the settings that you can do. and all of this other good stuff. So there is so much power using App Builder with Reveal to deliver an advanced analytics experience. So with that, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so that wraps up our demo. Hopefully you're as blown away as I am by how all of these technologies can come together and deliver an amazing experience. I mean, we just built like an end-to-end self-service BI client. Now, we didn't go into the server. Like I said, there's tons of videos online, and we do Reveal-only webinars every 2 weeks. So if you want to see more about Reveal, definitely just go to revealbi.io and take a look at what our webinar schedule is there, because we do a lot of webinars there. We've got a lot of content online. But please, the poll has popped up. Please go ahead and answer those poll questions as we wrap up here. So hopefully you saw that you can build simple and beautiful user experiences very easily. You don't have to overthink things and make things overly complex. Start with App Builder. Start with a template. Maybe start with an empty template and just start dragging and dropping and experimenting and seeing what types of applications you can build. If you're interested in doing the App Builder design contest, then go ahead and start with one of the sample apps, start changing things around, add some screens, delete some stuff, and then submit it just to see how far you can get with the product. And then when you think about, oh, I want to enable self-service BI, I think Reveal might be a solution for us or a replacement for something that you're already using. Look at how easy it was to get that whole self-service story down. We weren't just viewing dashboards, we were editing dashboards, we were adding new dashboards, and I would say most of the code was generated by App Builder, and we did add some Reveal specific code, maybe changed a couple things, but at the end of the day, we didn't do a lot of work. I mean, we just basically did a 20-some minute demo and built the whole thing. So you can see that there is a lot of a benefit to accelerating your dev process with these tools. So your next steps, both Reveal and App Builder have trial versions. Go to appbuilder.dev to start your App Builder trial today, and go to revealbi.io, click download SDK, and then you get an email with how to start your trial with Reveal. With Reveal, we highly recommend that you contact us and we kind of go through a demo, understand what your needs are. It's a little bit more complex because it's a client and a server than something like Reveal, where just go and evaluate it immediately. You'll see value and you'll want to start using it for your development process right away. So I want to thank everyone online as well who answered the questions today. Thank you for all the questions from everyone watching the webinar. And we are going to stay online as you finish the poll, and we'll finish up answering the Q&A. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know you have a lot of options for your time. We really do appreciate you spending time with us, and we will see you at the next webinar. And the next webinar for App Builder is huge because we're going to talk about our master detail / state and context binding, which will be released by the time we do our next webinar, which I believe is the first week of November, the 7th or the 9th or something like that. There's a link in the chat to register for that webinar. So we are super excited about that feature. We've been working on it for a long time, and it just elevates what you can do with App Builder, and it really does significantly reduce the amount of code that you're writing today, especially code that you might not really know how to write if you're new to these platforms or frameworks. So that's where App Builder really comes into play. So again, thanks everyone. We appreciate your time today, and we will see you at the next webinar.